The grand hall of the Xantari Council was filled with excitement and laughter. Holographic displays flickered around the room, showcasing the latest technological advancements of the Xantari race. Their sleek silver ships hovered outside the enormous glass windows, gleaming under the brilliant light of a nearby star. Council members dressed in vibrant robes gathered in small groups, discussing the immense power they wielded. They believed they were the pinnacle of civilization, untouchable and superior. "Behold!" boomed the voice of Chancellor Thalos, a tall figure with shimmering blue skin and sharp features. He stood proudly at the front, pointing to a magnificent holographic display of their newest starship, the Xantari Vanguard. It was designed for speed and stealth, equipped with cloaking technology that made it nearly invisible to enemy radar. The council erupted into applause, praising their advanced designs. They believed no one could challenge them, especially not the humans. Just then, a junior scientist, nervous yet eager, stepped forward with a small, dusty artifact in hand. "Chancellor, I found this human relic during our recent scans of Earth. It's—" Before he could finish, the council members erupted in laughter. "What is that? A toy?" sneered a counselor named Lyra, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "How could such primitive beings ever pose a threat to us?" Another counselor chimed in. "They can barely explore their own solar system. Why do we even waste our time discussing them?" As the mocking continued, the atmosphere shifted. The holographic display flickered, revealing a warning signal. The council's laughter died down as a red alert blared through the hall. The screens showed chaos on the planet Cerion, just a few light years away. Xantari ships, once seen as invincible, were now on screen, desperately trying to fend off the Krylon invaders. The Krylons were known for their ruthless efficiency. Their ships were massive and heavily armed, like metal beasts tearing through the heavens. The Xantari Council watched in horror as the footage displayed a Krylon battleship unleashing a barrage of missiles. Explosions rocked Cerion, and terrified civilians scattered in every direction, their homes reduced to rubble. "What is happening? Why are we not responding?" shouted Chancellor Thalos, his arrogance quickly turning to panic. The council members exchanged worried glances as they realized their previous confidence was misplaced. The Xantari, with all their advanced technology, were unable to prevent the chaos unfolding before them. One brave counselor, an older Xantari named Goran, spoke up. "We must send help immediately. We can't let them suffer at the hands of the Krylons." But Thalos shook his head. "We cannot risk our ships. We are too valuable to be sent into that fight." His voice quivered, revealing the uncertainty that crept into his heart. Suddenly, the hall was filled with static, and a communication line buzzed to life. A voice crackled through, breathless and urgent. "This is Commander Terran of the Xantari Spirit. We are under attack. The Krylons are relentless. We need backup." The council members fell silent, the reality of the situation crashing down on them. They were not the mighty force they had believed themselves to be. The Krylons were an unstoppable tide sweeping through the galaxy, and the Xantari had no means to stop them. A holographic map of the galaxy appeared, showing the Krylon fleet advancing. Panic spread like wildfire among the council members. The once joyous celebration had turned into a scene of dread and disbelief. How could they have underestimated their enemies so badly? As the Krylons continued their onslaught, a sense of urgency took hold. Lyra, a brilliant young scientist, stood at the back of the hall, her mind racing. She remembered the ancient texts she had studied, tales of Earth and its people. Humans had faced their own hardships and had overcome them time and again. Perhaps there was a solution hidden within those stories. Meanwhile, the Krylons' ships loomed larger on the holographic display. Their ruthless efficiency was on full display as they tore through the defenses of Cerion. Explosions lit up the screen and screams echoed in the background, a chilling reminder of what was at stake. In that moment of chaos, the Xantari Council realized their arrogance had blinded them to the true dangers lurking in the galaxy. They were facing an enemy unlike any other, and the time for laughter had passed. If they didn't act quickly, the consequences would be dire, not just for the Xantari, but for all races that stood in the path of the Krylons. With this realization, Lyra knew that the only way to survive was to find strength in unexpected places. They had underestimated humanity before, but now, with their world hanging in the balance, they would have to reconsider everything they thought they knew about the humans. The situation on Sarion worsened with each passing hour. The Kralons, with their massive ships and relentless attacks, pressed forward like a dark storm cloud. The Zantari Council watched helplessly as their forces suffered heavy losses. Ships that were once symbols of pride and power now drifted aimlessly in space, destroyed by the Kralon bombardment. Each defeat hit hard, shaking the very foundation of the Zantari's confidence. In the midst of this chaos, Lyra, a talented scientist known for her innovative ideas, began to question everything she had ever believed. She had always admired the Zantari's technology and superiority, but now, as she observed the destruction, she felt a deep sense of unease. How could we have been so blind? She wondered. We underestimated the threat, and now our people are paying the price. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Zantari soldier Bonner fought bravely alongside his comrades. He was known for his courage, but even the strongest fighters could feel the weight of despair. During one battle, Bonner witnessed the death of his closest friends, who had fought valiantly but ultimately fell victim to the overwhelming Kralon forces. As he held one of his fallen friends in his arms, grief washed over him like a tidal wave. The once vibrant laughter of his comrades was replaced by silence, leaving an aching void in his heart. Bonner's pain resonated with Lyra, who had seen too many lives lost. She had dedicated her life to science, yet now she felt powerless. The Zantari needed help, but where could they turn? As she pored over ancient records in the Council archives, something caught her eye: old documents about Earth and its history. Stories of human resilience and clever tactics emerged, tales of how they had faced overwhelming odds and prevailed against powerful enemies. As Lyra read on, her heart raced. There were strategies mentioned that could change the tide of battle: unique formations, guerrilla tactics, and creative uses of limited resources. These were concepts the Zantari had overlooked. Could these humans really help us? She thought, her mind racing with possibilities. She had found a glimmer of hope in the darkness, and now she knew she had to convince the Council to take action. But would they listen? The fate of her people depended on it. With her heart pounding, Lyra stood before the Zantari Council, determination shining in her eyes. We need to reach out to humanity for help, she proposed boldly. They have faced great challenges and have strategies that could assist us in fighting against the Kralons. A wave of skepticism swept through the chamber. Counselor Lyra scoffed. You want us to ally with humans? They are nothing but primitive creatures. How could they possibly help us? Lyra pressed on, her voice steady. But they have fought against powerful enemies before. They know what it means to stand up for their survival. We can learn from their experiences. The Council erupted in laughter and disbelief, dismissing her idea as foolish. But deep inside, Lyra felt a spark of hope. She knew humanity had faced many adversities and emerged stronger, and she believed they could do the same for the Zantari. As the Council continued to mock her, she clenched her fists, determined not to back down. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain James was in a war room, reviewing reports of the Kralons' aggressive expansion. He had heard whispers of the Zantari's struggles and knew they were on the brink of disaster. James was a strong leader with a reputation for courage and decisiveness. His team included soldiers with unique skills and personalities. As they discussed the situation, his second-in-command, Sergeant Lee, expressed his doubts. Do we really want to get involved with another race's war? We have our problems to deal with, Lee said, crossing his arms. What if this alliance weakens us? But another soldier, Corporal Mia, chimed in. Think about it. If the Zantari are facing the Kralons, we could learn from them too. We can fight together against a common enemy. Captain James listened carefully to his team's arguments, weighing their concerns against the potential benefits of an alliance. Then a report came in about a Kralon attack on a nearby colony. As the images flashed across the screen showcasing the devastation, James's resolve strengthened. He turned to his team. We can't just stand by while innocent lives are lost. We need to reach out to the Zantari and offer our assistance. They may have the technology, but we have the heart and determination to fight. After making his decision, James prepared to contact Lyra. He knew that working together could be the key to turning the tide against the Kralons. The stage was set for an unexpected alliance that could change the fate of both races forever. As the alliance between humans and Xantari began, both races gathered for their first training sessions together. Excitement buzzed in the air, but so did a sense of tension. The Xantari were advanced in technology, while the humans brought their own unique strategies to the table. The initial meetings led to a mix of humorous misunderstandings and serious learning moments. During one training exercise, Lyra watched as Captain James tried to demonstrate how to use a cloaking device. "It's simple," he exclaimed, activating the device. Instead of vanishing, however, he tripped and fell, landing in a pile of equipment. The Xantari burst into laughter, breaking the ice between them. Lyra couldn't help but chuckle, realizing that even the mightiest humans had their clumsy moments. As they continued to train, both sides learned valuable lessons. The Xantari taught the humans how to operate advanced AI systems that could predict enemy movements. In turn, the humans showed the Xantari how to adapt their technology for ground warfare, using guerrilla tactics that had proven successful in their own battles. Together, they developed innovative strategies that combined their strengths. One evening, as they took a break, Lyra and James shared personal stories. Lyra spoke of her family back home and the burden of her people's expectations. James opened up about his fears of failing his team in battle. As they revealed their hopes and worries, a strong bond began to form between them, creating a deep emotional connection that transcended their differences. Their alliance was becoming more than just a strategic partnership. It was blossoming into a friendship that would strengthen their resolve in the fight ahead. With their training well underway, Lyra and Captain James gathered their teams to devise a plan for their first major assault against the Krylons. They aimed to ambush a supply ship that was critical to the Krylon war effort. The room buzzed with energy as they combined Xantari technology with human guerrilla tactics to create a plan that capitalized on both their strengths. "Using cloaking devices, we can approach the supply ship undetected," Lyra explained, pointing to a holographic display of the ship's route. "Then at the right moment, we strike hard and fast." James nodded, impressed with her strategic thinking. "And we can use hit-and-run tactics to confuse them," he added. "Once we take out the supply ship, we'll cripple their resources." In the following days, an intense training montage unfolded. Soldiers from both races practiced tirelessly, perfecting their new tactics. The Xantari learned to use human stealth techniques while the humans adapted to Xantari technology. The camaraderie among the soldiers grew stronger as they faced challenges together, cheering each other on during rigorous drills and sharing lighthearted moments that broke the tension. However, as preparations reached a critical point, an air of foreboding settled over them. Unbeknownst to Lyra and James, spies within the Xantari Council had learned of their alliance. Fearing that the humans would steal their glory, these traitors began plotting sabotage. They whispered to one another, their eyes glinting with malice as they devised plans to undermine the upcoming ambush. As the Alliance prepared for their mission, the threat of betrayal loomed just out of sight, adding urgency to their preparations. The battle ahead would not just be against the Krylons, but against the shadows within their own ranks. The moment of truth had arrived. As the Xantari ships cloaked themselves, Lyra and Captain James prepared for the ambush against the Krylon supply ship. The tension in the air was electric, and the stakes could not have been higher. With a signal from Lyra, the Xantari fleet activated their cloaking devices, slipping silently into position above the Krylon vessel. "Now!" James shouted as the cloaking devices deactivated. A barrage of laser fire erupted from the Xantari ships, striking the supply ship and catching the Krylons off guard. Explosions rocked the ship, and chaos erupted on the deck as Krylon soldiers scrambled to respond. Orbital bombardments rained down from above, lighting up the night sky with fiery trails of destruction. As the battle raged on, the Xantari and human soldiers plunged into close-quarters combat. Lyra fought fiercely alongside James, weaving between enemies with agility. The clang of weapons and shouts of soldiers filled the air as they pushed forward, determined to secure victory. But amid the chaos, Bonner, the brave Xantari soldier, spotted Lyra in danger. A Krylon soldier had her cornered, weapon raised. Without a second thought, Bonner charged in, shoving her out of the way just as the soldier fired. In that moment, Bonner took the fatal hit. Lyra gasped in horror as she watched her friend fall, his sacrifice saving her life. Tears streamed down her face, but she channeled her grief into determination. The Alliance's clever tactics began to turn the tide against the Krylons, but just as victory seemed within reach, a formidable leader emerged from the shadows, an imposing Krylon general ready to unleash chaos. The battle was far from over, and the Alliance had to confront their greatest challenge yet. The final confrontation loomed as the Alliance faced the formidable Krylon general, a towering figure clad in dark armor. The battlefield was a chaotic scene of smoke and fire, and tension hung thick in the air. Lyra and James stood at the front lines, determination etched on their faces. This was the moment they had trained for. "Now's our chance!" James shouted, his voice rising above the chaos. "Let's show them what we can do." Together they unveiled a new strategy that blended human ingenuity with Xantari technology. As the soldiers moved in synchronized formations, they executed flanking maneuvers that disoriented the Krylon forces. Lyra coordinated the Xantari ships above, while James led the ground troops, his confidence inspiring everyone around him. The fierce battle unfolded with rapid exchanges of fire. The Alliance fought valiantly, pushing back the Krylon leaders' relentless attacks. Lyra and James dodged blasts and counterattacked with precision. Finally, in a climactic moment, they cornered the general. With one last push, they executed a combined attack that overwhelmed him. The general fell, and a wave of cheers erupted from the Alliance. With the Krylons in retreat, the Alliance celebrated their hard-fought victory. Exhausted but exhilarated, Lyra and James stood before the Xantari Council. "We have proven that together we are stronger," Lyra declared passionately. "Let us build a new era of collaboration." The council members nodded in agreement, finally recognizing humanity's strength and ingenuity. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the battlefield, Lyra and James looked at each other, knowing this was just the beginning of their partnership. The scene shifted to a joyful celebration, with both races coming together, united and hopeful for future adventures, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.